Kia ora koutou. Welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. Thanks for joining us. My name's Nicola Batossi and I'm CEO of Fertility New Zealand. It's my pleasure to open up tonight and introduce our wonderful speaker. So for those of you who don't know, Fertility New Zealand is a registered charity. We've been supporting Kiwis on their fertility journeys for the last 30 years. So we do that through providing information. We've got resources available at all fertility clinics, such as the information leaflets you can see there, videos on our website, and we have a range of in-person and virtual events, as well as an awareness campaign called Fertility Week. We run support groups all around the country, and we also have an 0800 line for your queries. So if you're looking for somewhere for impartial but credible advice supported by a panel of experts, then please do call our helpline, and Kate will be very pleased to take your call and help you however we can. So please join us, engage with all the wonderful resources and services that we have to offer you. That's why we're here. And please become a member if you're not already. You'll hear about events such as this via email, groups in your area if you're interested. It means you can participate in our forums, and importantly, every membership we have makes our voice stronger when we're lobbying the government and involved in decision making and things. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker tonight. Sarah Fries has a master's in psychology. She is a mindful self-compassion teacher as well as an executive coach. And combined with that, she's had her own fertility journey, which means that she's ideally placed to talk to you tonight. Sarah will give a presentation. If you have any questions or comments, she's happy to receive them during her talk. So please just type them into the box if you like. Otherwise, there will also be time for questions at the end. So thank you very much, and over to you, Sarah.
Cool, thanks Nicola. So welcome everyone, and and thank you so much for joining this evening. I know this is a real challenge sometimes, you know, after long days of work or whatever you're up to at the moment in this crazy world we're living in, especially if you've spent all day on Zoom meetings like I have, it can be a little bit of a challenge to spend another online meeting this evening. So I really thank you for your time tonight. So what I want to take you through today is a talk on mindfulness for fertility, and particularly being able to help you understand how the benefits of mindfulness and how it relates to the fertility journey. And really how it relates to all of life actually, and how you can apply these really simple tools. So my hope for you, my wish for you for this evening is that perhaps you take away one or two useful tools that you maybe didn't know before, or in fact that you did know them, and this is a timely reminder for you to maybe dust them off and to re-engage with them in your life. So as Nicola said, feel free to put any sort of chat comments in. I'll probably have to go from putting my glasses off to on. I'm a new to glasses person, so apologies if I keep doing that. To actually read comments, but as we go, please feel free to put comments through, and hopefully I can weave that into what I'm talking about. So probably the first port of call I really want to have a chat about is what it means to be mindful, and we're going to sort of talk about that. But probably the first place to start is just even the sense of what it means to have a full mind. Our mind is full, which is often how we're operating in the world, which is that going 1,000 miles an hour, everything's sort of crowding in on us. And then you add into that fertility challenges and we're adding in a whole nother level of stuff to think about, worry about, talk about, contemplate, decisions, and everything that goes with that. And then there's the concept of being mindful, and I want to help you understand the sort of the key differences between these two, because they are very, very similar and they are very related. Because of course, when our mind is full of stuff, it is the ability to sort of step back, to notice that, to notice the fullness, to notice the stuff coming into our world, and to be able to take a moment to recognize, to acknowledge, and to be present to that. And that is in fact being mindful. So let's just actually explore this a little bit further. So as I mentioned, one of the things I would really encourage you today is to think about building a toolkit through this. And hopefully you've got a pen and paper in front of you so that you can sort of capture some key notes. I will be asking you to think about some things as we move through. And if you have spouse or partner or a family friend sitting in on this seminar as well, don't leave them out of it. They've got a piece of paper and a pen in front of them too, hopefully. Okay, so let's talk about this. So have you experienced any of these symptoms? Have you experienced struggling to sleep, shallow breathing, difficulty thinking straight, restlessness, headaches, butterflies in stomach, tiredness, overeating, drinking, or any unhealthful behavior? Have you experienced any of that? If you have, then that is incredibly normal. So this is what is expected. So these are normal responses to stress. So when we are experiencing a lot of things going on in our world, and particularly in the fertility journey, when there are so many challenges in that, these are likely to go up. We are likely to experience more of this. We're likely to experience more stress in any of these behaviors. So if this happens to you at all, then absolutely this is a completely normal response to this journey. And also just acknowledging, and in life at the moment, just really want to acknowledge in this current context that we're operating in, we're adding in a whole nother level of stresses when we think about COVID and its disruption to our life in so many ways. So I think one of the important things is understanding stress. What's causing this? What is creating these responses? So I am what I've got is a video here. I'm a bit of a technically challenged individual, so I'm going to try my best to share screen with you and show you this video. I'm going to do a few of these, so bear with me if I mess this up. This might work. If it doesn't, put it in the chat box for Nicola.
We define stress as the response to a situation that a person perceives to be overwhelming and that the person doesn't think he or she can meet the demands of the situation. The interesting thing to note here, this is the perceived inability to meet the demands of the situation facing them. For example, perhaps you have a 10-page paper due in 2 days. In addition, you have to work nights and you have a test the same day the paper is due. For some people, they may perceive this to be way too much for them to handle and feel that they're unable to meet the demands of getting the paper done, studying for the test, and going to work. Thus, the person in this situation is experiencing stress. This is true for having projects due at work or also having to take care of household or family responsibilities.
Okay. Just make sure that cancels. What you will have noticed there, I'll just make sure I go back to the right screen. Okay, so this is really important. So stress is this perception that a person feels that they do not think that they can meet the demands of the situation. Now, this is such an important definition, particularly in the fertility context, because so often we're entering into this situation believing in our hearts that we actually should be able to meet the demands of the situation. We should be able to do this thing called, have children the way, the normal, the natural, the free way. And I think this often challenges the very core notion of who we are as women when we hit that situation of, hey, this isn't how it's meant to work. So in this environment, what we notice is that just even that notion that something's not working the way what we think it should work creates even at that point creates a level of stress. And I know even for myself, that is exactly what I felt. It was like a sense of overwhelm, of not being in control, and that I wouldn't be able to do what I needed to do. So let's just understand a little bit more about what is going on. So I love understanding the brain, having studied neuroscience, but I think it's a really important thing when you are encountering stress to understand actually what is physiologically going on here, and how is this, what is going on, so that you can also understand how to change it. So here's my really bad picture of the brain. But anyway, here it is. So what we have there in the center of our brain is this emotional center, and it's there to keep us safe. And what it does is it detects a threat. And this threat can be a threat from an external situation, or it can be an internally generated threat through self-criticism. So what happens, this emotional center detects a threat, and it sends a signal up to the smart part of the brain that says, hey, quick, it's like something bad's going to happen here. And elevates our heart rate and our breathing. It does all of that. And the smart thinking, the regulation system, this part at the top of our brain, it's the thing that assesses things. It's the thing that says, I've got lots of options, or what's going to happen. It's analytical. And it goes, oh, no, that's not our car alarm, or, no, that's you've actually got 3 more days to do that project. So it puts things in perspective for you. So perspective taking is really helpful. And what that does is it sends a message back down to the emotional center and says, it's all okay, calm down, and everything, centers back down again. Now, the thing is that we can't stop this emotional center reacting. We cannot do that. What we can do is we have the ability to enable us to hit this regulation system and to notice it and be more powerful over noticing that stress response just when it starts happening, not when we go over the top, and then to pull it back into check. Now, there is something that happens called an amygdala hijack. And what that is when your emotional center basically overrides that smart thinking part of your brain, and it totally takes over the show. And you'll know this because those are the times when you just cannot control it. You can't control that outburst of anger, or the frustration, or the deep upset that you have over a particular situation that's just happened, or a test result that you've just got back. It will fully take it over. Now, in those situations, there are other techniques, and I'm going to show you those tonight, that will help you be able to get this back into what we call equanimity, which is the ability to respond to distress in more equalizing situations with a lot more calmness and ease. So really, that's what I want to take you through tonight, and to help you with some tools so that when stress does build up, how can you sort of learn a few techniques to enable you to be more at ease, be more mindful of what's happening, so that you can have a more enjoyable process. whatever that looks like for you. So how do we do that? How do we do these things? So here is the technique. So I've got 3 core stress buster techniques that I'm going to take you through tonight. The first is mindfulness, which is clearly the topic of this evening. And this is sort of the grounding part of this process. The second is common humanity, which is the sense that that we're not the only one who experiences this. And look, you can just, we've got 14, 15 plus people on this call tonight, just to let you know that you are definitely not the only one experiencing this. And then, of course, step 3, which is kindness, which is the actual action of taking action on distress. So these 3 things basically culminate in the superpower of stress, which is called compassion. So compassion is a really interesting word because it's often confused with empathy. So empathy is a sense of feeling what I and someone else feel. So we're fully connected. We have these amazing little things in our brain called mirror neurons, which actually deliberately feel what someone else feels. So we're feeling creatures. We feel stuff. We don't like always feeling what we feel, but we do feel it. And so what compassion is compassion is the ability to take action on those feelings. And you'll see here, it is the action to relieve suffering in self and others. That is the key definition of compassion. Compassion cannot arise without suffering. Now, I know suffering seems like a really loaded word, and you'll hear that a bit in this talk tonight. But really, it's just a global term that we use to describe everything from minor irritation and, those things that annoy you, those little annoyances in life, all the way through to major distress and real deep challenges. So that's really the key of this, is being able to understand how can we do this more effectively? How can we relieve suffering in ourselves, primarily in this journey in ourselves? And if you've got any partners with you sitting alongside you, then it is about supporting and relieving suffering in others as well. So I want to introduce you to another video. So this is Kristen Neff. She's the primary researcher. She's also the founder of one of the 2 primary founders of Mindful Self-Compassion, which is a particular style of mindfulness training. So I'm going to do let me hope it works, share screen again. One moment, please. It's about 5 minutes long, and she's going to talk about these 3 aspects of mindfulness, common humanity, and kindness.
So how do I define self-compassion? And I really don't see a difference between compassion for self and others. I define them the exact same way. I argue that self-compassion has the components of a sense of kindness, care, understanding for yourself versus judgment, a sense of common humanity versus feeling isolated and cut off from others, and then a sense of mindfulness, right, being aware of the suffering that's occurring versus over-identification, which, again, I'll just clarify this in one moment. Let's go through each one separately. Okay, so self-kindness versus self-judgment. Kindness is more than just hearts and flowers, okay? Kindness has a very active component to it. It means when you're kind to yourself, you really want to comfort yourself when you're suffering. You want to alleviate your suffering. You want to soothe yourself. Okay, it's a very active stance where I want to do whatever I can to help myself feel as good as possible in this moment. Okay. common humanity, really framing one's own experience in light of the common human experience. It's very funny if I were to ask any of you, are a human being? Are you a human being? Yes, of course. Is everyone else a human being? Yes, of course. Does everyone else suffer? Yes, of course. You would say that logically. But in the moment when you just blew it at work, or you had someone reject you, or something really bad happens in your life, what happens non-rationally is that we get very egocentric. We feel like, why me? This somehow has happened to me. I'm the only one who's messed up. I'm the only one who's going through that difficult time. And we feel really cut off from others. It's as if somehow when things go wrong, that's abnormal. This is not supposed to be this way. Something has gone wrong. But is that the case? Has anything gone wrong? Is anything abnormal? No. That's what life is. Life goes wrong. No one in here signed a contract before you got, born in this world saying, I would be perfect, my life would be perfect. And yet it's like, this is not the plan I signed up for. I'm pissed off about it, right? That's how we react. The problem with that, and there's a lot of problems with that, but one of the main things is when we feel isolated and cut off from others, physiologically, that's very frightening. If you think evolutionarily, one of the worst things that can happen to us is to be isolated from the group, because then we aren't safe. And it's interesting, this aspect of well-being, I don't think has been studied enough. This sense of, can we feel connected to others in our suffering, or do we feel isolated from others in our suffering? And just, I can tell you in the workshops I've conducted, especially the 8-week ones, at the end I asked people what they got out of this the most. Almost every single person says common humanity. I realize it's not just me. It's not just me who judges myself. It's not just me who suffers like this. Very important to remember that this is the human experience. This is how things are supposed to be. Okay, nothing has gone wrong. Yes, it's painful, but it's normal. It's natural. And then this is where the mindfulness comes in. You have to be aware of your suffering in order to give it compassion. So mindfulness allows you not only to notice your suffering, but very important, we'll talk about this more, to be with your suffering as it is. We don't like to be around suffering. If we could just get rid of pain, we'd do it. And we have lots of psychological mechanisms to avoid that, again, which I'll be talking about in a little bit. So self-compassion says, wow, pain is occurring. Can I turn toward that? Can I be with that? And you actually need to do that to be able to give yourself the caring and support you need. Right? Now, some people do say, come on, you have to notice your suffering. Isn't it like blindingly obvious I'm suffering? But it's often really not. The pain caused by self-judgment, I think in some ways that's some of the worst pain in all of this experience. Constant, niggly pain. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not this enough. I blew it. I'm this, I'm that. But often we are so lost in the role of self-critic that we don't really stop to realize, oh my God, this is really, really hurting. And in some ways it feels more comfortable to be the self-critic, because at least the self-critic isn't the person that messed up. The self-critic knows you messed up. The part of you that feels really, vulnerable and insecure and a failure. Often we don't give that side of the process as much attention. Okay, and then also very important, when things go wrong in our lives, very often we go straight into problem-solving mode. It's like, there's a problem. I don't want there to be a problem. Need to fix the problem. Immediately. And what happens is we go straight into problem-solving mode and don't stop to, again, turn towards the suffering and say, whew, this is really hard. This is difficult. I need a little care and compassion to get me through this. Then we really aren't at our best and are most psychologically stable when we go towards trying to fix that problem. Okay, so it's actually something you have to remind yourself to do before going straight into fixing problems, to just acknowledge and validate how difficult the situation is.
Okay, so hopefully you could relate to a few of those pieces. I know I certainly could. When I first did this course, it was probably one of the main reasons why I chose to become a teacher of it, is because I remembered that whole sense of, the extraordinary amount of self-judgment and self-criticism that I had when I was going through fertility challenges, and just noticing that how much of that self-critic was really painful, really, really painful. So this is sort of really coming back to the reason why I thought it would be a wonderful course to support people with going through this journey, because I thought it would have been really helpful to have had this knowledge and this understanding when I was going through this. So hopefully you could relate to some of those key things. And so what I want to do now is sort of take you through each of those key steps. So the first thing and the foundational part is the sense of mindfulness. So being aware of our suffering, being aware of those painful, the thoughts, the feelings, the difficulties that we have. And so often, it's a little bit hard to see on this picture, but there's a person meditating on a beautiful hillside environment. So this is often the way we think about mindfulness or meditating with the intention of being more mindful. But actually, really, what I want to think for you to think about mindfulness is actually in this way, and you hopefully can see that picture behind that screen, which is someone washing their hands, which is very appropriate for right now. And I think the key is that I want to explain is that, mindfulness is actually about being present to every moment. It's the simple moments in life. So there's no need to take yourself off to a beautiful mountain retreat. Not that wouldn't be all particularly nice. But it's about, taking the time in the presence of mind to be able to connect with every single little moment in life. Those are the good moments and the not so good moments. And I'll explain more about why that's important. But first of all, let me just talk about the definition. So mindfulness in a nutshell means paying attention in a particular way. That's all it means. I'm paying attention to something in a particular way. And that quality, if you like, of attention is on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. So on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. So if you can imagine that, you're having a beautiful afternoon walk and you're enjoying the sunshine, and all of a sudden what comes into your mind is, oh no, I've got to get the test results are coming back tomorrow, or I've got to go and have a blood test tomorrow, whatever part of this journey that you're up to at this point in time. But there's some thought that comes into your head about something next, or maybe something didn't happen, and all of a sudden you're not present to this beautiful moment, the beautiful sunshine on you, or the nature around you. And this is really the joy of mindfulness. The joy of mindfulness is actually taking that time to really enjoy that moment, enjoy the moment being that sun on yourself, and non-judgmentally, noticing that when so often these critical thoughts come into our minds, how can we just let them go? Just let them go and be able to return to this present moment in a way that suits us. So there are extraordinary number of proven benefits, and you'll see those on the right there. It might be a bit hard to see on your screen, but reducing stress and anxiety, improving mood and working memory, preventing relapses of depression, increasing emotional intelligence, and developing awareness and resilience. So these are proven research benefits to mindfulness. Interestingly, there was a piece of research done by a guy called Matt Killingsworth, and he found out that there are, in fact, we actually only spend about 47% of the time actually being present to the moment. The rest of the time, we're off doing a whole lot of other things. So what are we doing when we're not present? What does the opposite of mindfulness look like? So this is what it looks like. It's got feelings of being out of control, scattered thinking, criticism of self and others, quick to react from fear and anger, ruminating about the past, going, oh no, if only I'd done this, or if only I'd done that, and that whole recrimination that comes with that, or worrying about the future, what if this happens and what if that happens? So either of those states, really, really painful and difficult. It creates distractedness, this feelings out of control and confusion. So pretty much The opposite of mindfulness is all of this stuff, which, if you think about it, no wonder there's such wonderful proven benefits to mindfulness, because it's a holiday from this, which even if you just take a moment to really notice any of those things, you get a sense of, oh, that's what's going on. And yes, of course, there's, those moments of joy, we are present. Those moments of joy, we are present. And then there's those moments of real not joy, when we also can be very present to the difficulties of life as well. So I want to show you this video. It's called Moments, and it gives you a sense of what do we mean by being present to the moment? What does that actually look like? So I want to show you, it's about 4 minutes long.
The moment was. How would you define a moment? I can't even say.
I don't know. Ask me something simple. A moment in normal time. Normal time is this. What is a moment, though? Honestly,
It's that thing. It's beyond the senses.
Moment. I don't know.
Sarah, are you back now? She seems to have frozen. I'm sure she'll be back with us any moment. Sarah? Apologies for this, everyone. Won't be long at all. For the technical problems that we're having right at the moment, it looks like there might be some kind of issue with Sarah's internet connection, but I'm sure she's still with us, or she'll join back in just a couple of moments. So yeah, please do type any questions that you have into the chat box. A recording of this webinar will be available tomorrow on the news section of the Fertility New Zealand website, and we will also have a copy of Sarah's slides available to download at that stage. So tonight's session is due to finish about 9:15, including questions. Thanks for your patience. And Sarah's just having some technical difficulties, but she's rejoining us as we speak. While we wait for Sarah to return, we've held quite a number of these webinars this year, especially in the first lockdown. So if you're interested, you can look on the news section of our website, and there's recordings of everything there. There's a real range of topics. Excuse me again, I'll be right back.
Thank you, guys. Sorry about that. Always a bit of a nightmare when your whole system shuts down. So hopefully you can hear me all now. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. Fortunately, it's one of those moments where very, very grateful to have a secondary laptop. So yeah. Anyway, so hopefully you can hear me now. Actually, I'll just check in. Just checking in that you can all hear me. Okay, so what we have here is as I was mentioning before, hopefully you might have heard me or maybe didn't in that last part, but really wanting to, oh, we can hear. Okay, awesome, good, thank you, got a message. So what I was saying is in that moments video, what you may have noticed is you may have noticed some of those things that you naturally are inclined to lean in towards, and some of those things that you sort of resist or want to close back on. And you know, particularly, you know, I remember when I was going through this challenge, I mean, I certainly did not want to see any pregnant women or small babies or anything in that sort. And I remember I had friends of mine sort of coming to me saying, you know, can I talk to you about how much I don't want to see those, and is it okay? And I'm like, absolutely. You know, I think sort of maintaining positivity or false positivity is actually is just not helpful, because it's about, as Chris and Nev said, we don't want to deny or suppress those feelings. We want to be mindful that we have them. And we want to turn toward those difficult feelings to acknowledge that actually, you know what, I don't want to be around. I don't want to go to my friend's baby shower. You know, I really don't want to go and do that. I don't want to go and subject myself to that. And that's actually really okay. So being mindful and kindness to ourselves means actually recognizing that those situations are difficult and being okay with that. So what we need to be able to do is not suppress or deny those difficult emotions, but actually turn toward them and acknowledge them. That is the key part of mindfulness. So not about sort of deep diving into them, just acknowledging that they're there. And even those ones all about the self-judgment, the self-criticism, just acknowledging that they're there. So you'll see there on the slide, there's some questions for contemplation. You know, right now, the most significant cause of stress in my life is, in the darkest moments of despair, I think to myself, ... I really wouldn't want anyone to know that ... And when I judge myself most harshly, I say that. So just taking a moment just to think about how would you answer the end to any of those questions? What would you say? What would be sort of those things? And with just not even sort of with that conscious mind, but more with the unconscious mind, just prompting with those prompts. What's the first thing that comes up? What's the first thing that you say harshly to yourself? What is the thing that you really wouldn't want anyone to know? So those are the things that they are there. They are in fact there, and that's why they're coming up when you use prompts like that. So this process is not about putting you into a dark space or a dark side. It's more about acknowledging what is actually there, because that stuff that's there, it just needs to be heard. It needs to be attended to. And when we don't attend to the stuff that's real, the stuff that's sitting underneath that waterline, just for a moment to attend to it and just to acknowledge it, that's when it sort of starts getting bigger. And that's when stress and overwhelm starts coming in. So just turning toward that stuff, acknowledging it, is not about deep diving into it. It is just acknowledging that is there. And therefore, if we go to the next step, one of the things that is most important is to use processes in your life like my breathing processes that enable you to stabilize this mindful awareness about what's happening. And one of the most simple tools for that is an exercise, is a process called bubble breathing. And it's one of those things that you can just do any time in the day. You can just, take 2 minutes in your day to notice that you're breathing and how you are breathing. That is the real key to it. So, look, I'm not going to take you through this one today, but I will send you out this pack, and so that you do have it. But actually, in the next minute, no, I will do that. I'm just not going to show you a video because videos seem to have issues at the moment. So what I want you to do, let me do this real time. So what I want you to do is I want you to just find something in the room that you can just focus on. So look around the room, wherever you are, look around the room and pick something that interests you. Doesn't matter what it is. In my case, it's going to be a light. Just pick something that interests you. So just give you a moment to do that. Scan around the room and pick something that interests you. Okay, so now you've found something that interests you. What I want you to do is take a big breath in for 5 seconds. Breathe in for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want you to hold your breath for 4 seconds. And I want you to breathe out for 8 whilst looking at this interesting thing. Once again, breathe in for 5 seconds. Hold for 4. And breathe out for 8. All the while looking at this interesting thing. Breathing in for 5 seconds. Holding your breath for the count of 4. And breathing out for 8. One more time. Breathing in for 5. Holding for 4. And out for 8. So you might have noticed when you were doing that your attention wanders. So, and that is actually what it's meant to do. So our brains are meant to wander. That's how they come up with all amazing imaginative things. And remember that we've left the iron on. It's a survival technique, and it's very useful. The key thing in training our minds to be more present and focused on what we want in life, and the things being present into their moment, is actually a part of our mind that notices our mind has wandered and tells us to bring it back. That is called meta-attention. And the more that we stabilize that power of that meta-attention, the more we're able to, when we notice that stress response come up, we're able to notice it and then let it go and then come back. So that's how that works. So what I want to explain to you, though, is there are times in life where, in this fertility journey, where you will not, where you will be, and I experience them as well, as total distress. Where those moments where you can, you just feel so overwhelmed by what is actually occurring, or a very, very difficult conversation, and it's very hard to be present to any moment. So in those situations, bubble breathing does not work. And so what I want to explain to you is another situation. And it's called Soles of the Feet. And Soles of the Feet is a really simple exercise. We're not going to do this. I'm not going to get you to take shoes and socks off now, don't worry. But I will explain to you how this works, so that if you are in a situation that is very, very heightened distress and you're really, really worried, then you can use this. And it's also brilliant. I can tell you this, it's absolutely brilliant for work when your mind is all over the shop and you need a little break. This is awesome. So what you do is you take your shoes and socks off and you set your timer on your phone for 5 minutes, and you quite literally take your feet for a walk. And I want you to write down 2 words, texture and temperature. So what you're looking for is as you take your feet for a walk, you're noticing the warmth of the carpet perhaps, and then you're noticing the hardness of the deck where you walk to, and then maybe the softness of the grass, and maybe it's cold, and then you walk to some concrete, ideally walking inside and outside, noticing difference of texture and temperature. This amazing process, what it does is it gets us out of this danger zone, which is basically between our head and our gut, where all of our emotion is stored. And it enables us to put all of our attention in our feet, which is not dangerous at all, and gives us a sense of relief. So soles of the feet is a very, very good activity. So something on the question here, what's your advice of wording how to tell people you're not up for the baby shower and gender reveal, etc.? It's a very, very good call. I just think, actually just how you worded it is just beautiful, just the ability to say, hey, look, I'm just right now where things are at for me, I'm just not up for this right now. It's a really, really challenging time for me, and I can appreciate that this is just the most joyful time for you, and I just am so happy for you at this point in time. But right now, this is something that I need to be able to do for me. So really good friends, they know that, they get that. So I just think actually in your wording there, Paula, you actually just says the way that you word it is actually perfect. That I'm not up for this. It's not about you. It's I'm not up for this. So another exercise step 2 in another exercise I want to talk to you about is common humanity. So we've got a sense of mindfulness. Mindfulness is recognizing that there is a point of suffering, that I am under distress, that this is difficult for me. Common humanity is bringing a sense of that I'm not the only person who feels this way, just in that moment there, like that baby shower gender thing, like just even that moment to acknowledge, okay, I'm not the only person who's never wanted to go to a baby shower or who dislikes pregnant people at the moment. There are other people in the world just like me. So this common humanity is just such an important part of this. And there's an exercise here which will be very hard for you to read on the screen, but I will read it out for you. And we'll make this available to you as well. But basically, a compassion exercise is the ability to connect with the sense that I'm not alone, that there are others just like me. And this is an exercise, it says in the instructions, that can be done, unobtrusively from people from some distance, like sit yourself in an airport or something like that, which is ironic, isn't it, given our world right now? But it works just as well when you're having a person in mind. So what I want you to do right now, I'm going to guide you all through all 5 steps. And what I want you to do is just to enjoy the moment. And I want you to think about someone in your life that you really care about. So who is someone in your life that you care about? I want you to have this person in your mind. And if it helps you to close your eyes, you can do that. So with attention on the person, repeat to yourself, just like me, this person is seeking some happiness for his or her life. With attention on the person, repeat to yourself, just like me, this person is trying to avoid suffering in his or her life. With attention on the person, repeat to yourself, just like me, this person has known sadness, loneliness, and despair. With attention on the person, repeat to yourself, just like me, this person is seeking to fulfill his or her needs. And with attention on the person, repeat to yourself, just like me, this person is learning about life. I mean, you're just letting go that visual of that person in your mind, just being present for a moment with yourself. When you're ready, opening your eyes. So the expected result of this exercise is a personal sense of peace. So, you know, when things are really, really difficult, this is a wonderful exercise too. But actually, equally, this is a wonderful daily practice. You know, when things are going well for you in this fertility journey, it's great to build some buffer or resilience so that you're able to deal with the more difficult times. And doing exercises like the compassion exercise frequently actually does that. It just brings you that sense of peace and ease into your life. And it is dose dependent, which means that the more that you do an exercise like this, the more that you feel better. So, you know, if you start off with one person and then two and then three, and all of a sudden you're doing 10 people, I tell you, you would feel pretty awesome. The other thing about this exercise too is it's wonderful if you've got some conflict with someone. So if you're having some difficulty, maybe communicating with your partner is such a challenging journey with relationships. Doing this exercise a few times, and I would say that I did have to do this quite a few times on my husband, but I would encourage that it's not just one round. You know, there's usually at least about quite a few rounds you want to get through until you get to the point where you feel a sense of personal peace with this person in your mind. It's a wonderful exercise to do that with. And equally on your question around, you know, if you're having if you want to tell someone in your life that, you know, look, I'm not up for doing this, or I'm not up for being to that family event, or whatever that looks like, actually doing the compassion exercise beforehand on that person before you deliver that information is actually really helpful too. It just puts you in a completely different space. Okay, so one other little tip on common humanity is the sense of phoning a friend. And, you know, I remember, you know, often I'd have friends who are also going through this journey, and they'd call me, and look, I still do speak to people, especially people who are looking to have a donor as well, you know, just talking about that experience, because it's so helpful when someone is in the same situation as you, because it's just the same sense, isn't it? It's that common humanity of just like me. So reaching out to people that are in a similar situation is really helpful. And of course, Fertility New Zealand has a wonderful support group that's totally free of charge to be able to connect with people just like you. So really encourage you to be able to use that network as well. So that brings us to the third part, which is about kindness. So we've done about mindfulness, we've explored common humanity, and now we're on to the last part, which is all about kindness. So kindness is different to self-indulgent. So, and often what can be very challenging, you know, people find that they put on weight, or they eat too much, or they drink too much, and they do things like that. And it's often because we, you know, we feel like we deserve something because we're challenged, you know, we're having a tough time. I deserve. The difference between kindness and self-indulgent is kindness, you feel good after it, you know, you feel like you've done something good for yourself. And self-indulgent, you feel guilty. So what I really encourage is when you're noticing those self-indulgent things come up, all it means is that you need to raise the amount of kindness in daily life that you're doing. So kindness in daily life is doing all those things that you just love doing, that feed your soul, basically. So I want you to write down on your piece of paper, what's one or two things that really work for you in life right now? What are the couple of things that feed your soul, that regenerate you and make you feel good? I'm just going to read out a list of things under each of those topics there too, just to give you some prompts. So in the physical realm, there would be exercising, having a warm bath, having a cup of tea. Mental would be, reading a good book, watching a funny movie, or an interesting film. Emotional would be petting the dog or a cat, having a good cry. Relational, catching up with friends, playing a game. Spiritual, taking a walk through the woods, praying, helping others. So lots of different things in there. In the physical realm, obviously massage, if I didn't mention that, so it's always helpful too. So just write down for yourself, what's a couple of things that just really you love doing, that really feed your soul, that give you kindness? And how can you increase those in your life? So there is a little bit of a challenge with kindness. These kindness things, they are brilliant for wonderful maintenance, but when there is just a major problem's gone down, or you've just got off the phone from a fertility clinic, or actually it's not even getting off the phone. I mean, actually, just the phone ringing, and that fertility clinic usually sends you into a state of panic. Those moments, you can't just look at your phone and go, oh no, it's a fertility clinic, I'm going to go for a run and go get a massage, I'm not going to answer this. So there's those little moments in life that you need to have another way of responding to it that is in the moment. So what I want to show you guys is a really cool exercise. It's called a self-compassion break. It's part of the mindful self-compassion exercises from the 8-week course, and really it's grounded in some really significant research. And the research says that there are actually 3 universal triggers of compassion, and feel free to write them down. They are gentle vocalizations, physical warmth, and supportive touch. So gentle vocalizations, physical warmth, and supportive touch, which just basically reminds you of someone giving you a hug, doesn't it? And saying, oh, it's okay, it'll be okay. And, if you've ever had one of those moments where you're just holding everything together and someone gives you a hug, typically you don't hold everything together much longer, it's all comes out. And that emotional release can be really challenging, and sometimes actually one of the reasons why we isolate and don't want to feel the stuff. The thing is that if we're able to respond to ourselves with compassion in these moments, we're not going to have those big emotional states. And that's pretty much how this works, is because our brain doesn't know whether we're giving ourselves a hug or someone else's. It doesn't know. So what I want to do is guide you through this really simple exercise that brings all these elements together that we've been talking about tonight. And pretty much we're pretty much at the end then. So I want you to close your eyes or lower your gaze, just so you've got a moment to connect in with yourself. And think about something in your life that's causing you some stress at the moment. Maybe not the fertility stress, because it's usually quite a big one, but maybe take something else, something little that you could be a little bit of a training ground for you. What's something that's sort of on your mind at the moment? Something that you're turning towards, some difficulty. And as you bring the stress to mind, I want you to notice where it is held in your body. Like, where is the stress? Is it in your head, like it causes you a headache? Is it through your back? Is it sort of a tightness in the gut or a shallowness in your breathing? Where do you notice this most keenly? And as you notice this, I want you to say to yourself, oh, this is stressful. Or maybe this is tough. Or this hurts. So this is the mindfulness step. This is acknowledging what is there, that turning toward. And now I want you to say to yourself, I'm not the only one who experiences this. And there are other people in this world, and there's 7 billion people that also experiences this. So this is the common humanity step. And now I want you to put your hands in your lap and just feel the sense of the touch of your hands in your lap. Feel the warmth of them as you clasp each hand. Notice the warmth, notice the supportive touch. And as you do this, I want you to say to yourself something kind like, may I be kind to myself? Or may I give myself what I need? Or may I be patient? And if none of those things ring true, think about what would you say to a dear friend who is in the same situation as you? And could you offer the same sentiment of kindness to yourself? And when you're ready, just letting go of that practice. So this is a really, really simple exercise. It's sort of a foundational one of bringing self-compassion to the moment. And sometimes that universal trigger, even, putting your hand on your heart, your hands in your, on together. And, it's one of those things I even do at work often, if I'm having a bad day, I'm just having a moment. I go, oh yeah, that's right. And I don't even need the rest of the steps. I just need to just put those hands together and go, oh yeah. And that with a very, very long out breath just shifts that emotional state right around. Okay, so that pretty much brings me to the end. Just a couple of things in your toolkit. So if you are interested in learning to meditate, specifically meditate, not so much the mindful self-compassion of meditation, but just general meditation and how to do that, the Calm app with Jeff Warren is a wonderful tool for that. Bubble breathing, there is a great new app by John Kerwin, Mentor, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Couple of things in that is tackling the little worries. It's got a little worries with this cool little bubble thing that I love it. It's just so clever, clever. And the bubble breathing one, brilliant. Getting grounded, soles of the feet, that's really helpful. Overcoming isolation, engaging in activities that make you feel good and not guilty. And if you are interested in learning more about self-compassion techniques that I've introduced tonight, then my friend Helen Roach, she and I are going to be teaching a course coming up soon. And there's about 5 of us trainers in New Zealand who do that. So yeah, absolutely. Just go on and check out those. Really helpful. So apologies. So that's the end for me. Apologies for those who, when I sort of had to chop things off because of my hopeless laptop. But anyway, hope you found it enjoyable. I'm really open to taking any questions now that you have. Yeah, Nicola, you're welcome to turn off the video, the slide share if you like. Any questions anyone has?
It doesn't look like there are any questions or comments. Thank you, messages coming through. That was a wonderful talk. Thank you, Sarah, and I'm sure everybody will take something away. Sarah's email address is there if you're interested in getting in touch with her, and also ours at Fertility New Zealand. Oh, there is one question, if you're happy to answer it, Sarah.
Can I see it? No. Oh, how did you deal with the initial shock of finding out your fertility issues? Oh, how did I deal with it? Trying to remember back. I don't remember doing it particularly well, I must say. I don't remember. I think I was mostly in denial for quite some time, actually. I think that was I just kept having miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage, so way too many. And people would just keep saying that, eventually, that was just not an ideal way. So for me, the biggest issue was dealing with all the miscarriages and people telling me I just had to keep going down that track, and then there were a whole other challenges after that too. But yeah, I remember at the time mostly it was denial, and actually denial. I remember the thing about denial is actually it's a really helpful technique. For a certain period of time you can deny a lot of things. It's a good coping technique. It helps you get through. But then at the same time I was actually involved in doing a self-development course and had a whole range of techniques, and I spent a lot of time doing the compassion stuff, and that was really helpful. I did a lot of work in the compassion space on me and a lot of the self-judgment space. Yeah, so that's how I did it. Oh, good to hear your comments, and you're welcome. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing all those insights and techniques with us tonight. That was wonderful. Great session. So thank you so much.
Cool. Okay.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.